Coming up on Dub Zone, glory on song as they wallop Western in the West. Fergie time, a Kiwi comeback keeps finals hopes alive. And Healy seals the deal against the Mariners to set up an absolute blockbuster clash with City. Hello and welcome to Dub Zone. I'm Amy Duggan and we're happy to have you join us today for another episode of Dub Zone. Joined by A-League's commentator Teo Pellizzeri and two-time Ninja A-League Championship winner Teresa Polias. Great to have you both here. We're 18 rounds deep in this competition. We're sorting out the contenders from the pretenders. Well, almost. But you have to have a favourite moment from round 18.
Definitely. There were a few contenders there, but I really enjoyed Wellington Phoenix comeback win against the Wanderers, and what a wonder strike from Tanaka.
I think the backstory behind the second Perth Glory goal, it was an interesting celebration, and we will dig a little deeper into what exactly motivated it.
Well, how about we do that right now, Teo? We will head to Perth because the Glory, they were glorious, put the hammer down, didn't they, at home to Western United with a big 3-0 win. It all started with a brace from Kelly Brown with her first goal coming in the 14th minute.
Teresa, this was a very close, cagey game for long sections. Perth Glory, they contested a lot of the 50-50s. They get that goal after a great through ball from Sarah O'Donoghue, but the fight from Tiarn McKenna. That was what was noticeable for so much of this game.
They were so defensively disciplined, and that's what I think won them the game. Yeah, that tenacity there from McKenna and fantastic through ball from O'Donoghue there, and a great finish. So a thoroughly deserved win for Perth.
Hadn't kept a clean sheet all season. Casey Dumont in goal hadn't kept a clean sheet since playing for the Mariners in last season's finals. It's important, and then in the second half, the game changer comes on, and this was really the catalyst for Perth to take the match away from West.
Great to see Fonson back and making an instant impact. But you mentioned the clean sheet for Casey Dumont. It just tells you where Perth are at the moment, doesn't it?
We've seen a lot of red cards this season for, colloquially last man fouls or denying of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. Another straight red here for Julia Sato. I mean, she also gets a 1-game suspension. And 20 minutes to go, 1-0 scoreline. Western United they weren't in the game, but they were in the game in that, you're only ever a mistake or a moment of brilliance away at 1-0.
Yeah, look, Sato's not making that tackle when you're 3-0 down, but 1-0 down, you're still in the match, and I can see why she did make the foul there.
But Megan Wynn hasn't scored this season. Do you back yourself to chase and hope that your goalkeeper, Matilda's goalkeeper no less, makes a one-on-one save if you can't catch? Or is your instinct there, I have to commit this foul, even if it means getting sent off?
Tayo, in a game, you don't have time to be thinking, who is this? And, it's purely instinctual, and I can totally understand why she did that in that moment. I'm sure, Amy, as a defender, you'd get that too. You're not thinking about, who's this and what are their stats? It's in that moment, it's that danger, and she just did it.
Yeah, you just chase him from behind trying to get him down. It would have been nice for her to try and get on the inside and maybe get around the player rather than just take her legs out. Absolutely clear red, no doubt about it. But I would want to go back to Fonsam Cam and that through ball that she put through because that was just beautiful.
I mean, she hasn't played since getting injured in September. She actually scored for Preston Lions in an NPL Grand Final, was on track to win them a title, and then goes off injured with an ankle injury that has kept her out until March. I mean, it's extraordinary that you never lose it, but it just shows how hard she's had to work in her rehab, given she's been out for 6 months.
She has, and she's done it really properly now and seems to have gotten over the injury well, and hopefully she stays really healthy because she's the type of player that, they've really missed, but a player that, like her, who comes back can change a team into a potential championship winning team.
And when you've got your strikers scoring goals the way that Kelly Brown did there with the brace, are Perth a chance of finals?
Well, I mean, they took the game away. I mean, so they've got a player advantage for the final 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, they go on to, repair their goal difference, which was one of the worst in the league. Kelly Brown, fresh off Football Fern's call-up full of confidence. I mean, that's a gift to make it 2-0, and then a handball sends them to the spot, and Fonsong Cam gets her moment to make it 3. It's hard to say, T, because Perth away are a totally different team to Perth at home, and Stephen Peters might have tried to get out in front of this in pre-season, saying that teams have got to worry about playing us in the West, but I don't think they've actually resolved how much different they look when they're the away side.
Yeah, look, in terms of where we are in the season, is there enough time for Fonsong Cam to actually get back with enough minutes to make a huge impact? If we were 3 rounds, you know, in the past, I'd say probably, you know, different. They would be contenders, but a little too late for me.
One of the other things that hangs over them is one of those remaining home games is Melbourne City in the very last round. And intriguingly, will that be Melbourne City going for an unbeaten season? Will they still be in a title battle? Could it be a total dead rubber and City even rotate their team? So Perth might be sitting there looking at a potential Melbourne City with a casting an eye to finals in that very last game of the season.
Very interesting
They just
one,
need to stay alive, you know, until that point, because there's not much room for error.
No, not at all.
Now, Teo, your favourite moment this week was a celebration following the second goal from Kelly Brown. We just saw it there on the screen. But let's hear from her now about that celebration.
Your second goal, you've run over to the physio, Tanika, there. What was the reason for that goal celebration? Tell us the backstory to that.
Tanika's been huge for so many people on this team, myself included. Like, physios play such a big part, and I don't think people get to see quite how hard they work and as much work that they do. So I'm just really super grateful for her and all that she does, and really proud to have her on our team. And I think, you know, the girls have been working hard with her to rehab, and she's been pushing us as hard as she can to get us back, and I think that shows. So it's good to celebrate with the people that don't quite get it as much.
Did she have a word for you after you pointed her out and made a point of celebrating with her, or was she swept up in celebrating the goal like you?
To be honest, I told her that at halftime if I scored again, I'd come and celebrate with her, and she didn't really believe me. Hence why she didn't really stand up, but like, it's fine. It's all good. We got there.
Giving some kudos to the support team there, Kelly Brown, and you're right, Teo, great backstory. We've concentrated on Perth, but we probably have to talk about Western's woes. They currently sit 4th on the ladder, but have the worst defensive record of all the teams in the league.
Yeah, look, enough said there, really. And the consistency in defence just hasn't been there this season, and it's hurting them.
So their ability to try and outgun opponents in games where they're conceding regular goals, Carly Johnson left, and she creates and is on the end of so many chances, and that dried up. I mean, are they a team that is now solely reliant on Chloe Lagazzo to try and find a way to score a goal? Because they just looked, without Lagazzo, she had 3 chances in this game, hits the post here, but it felt as though even with Catherine Zimmerman back, they weren't creating with the same regularity that they were able to when Carly Johnson was out there.
Which adds further pressure. I mean, they're already under pressure with, you know, the defensive inconsistency, and then you take a player like Carly Johnson out who's not creating, they're not scoring, so the pressure is on them.
The pressure is definitely there. 4 points from their last 5 games, and not to forget they've played 1 more game than the other teams in the competition. But Chloe Lagazzo's frustrations, absolutely, you can see her there. She's frustrated, it's physical, it's loud, so emotional about it. That is the pressure building, isn't it?
Yeah, she's a passionate player, Chloe, and, you know, after quite a purple patch they did have for a little while, it is frustrating, and, you know, Chloe is a player that shows her emotion out there, so she only wants the best for her team.
We've got this weird dynamic where teams with points in the bank have stopped. They're not even stalling, they've stalled.
They have.
So, but they've got this buffer over the other teams, the little cats on their pogo stick trying to do a dead cat bounce. So, like, do Western have enough points in the bank? I mean, can you even see them winning the 2 more games they need? You'd think at this point 29 or 30 points might be enough, and maybe 31. But the way teams are going, I think a team in the 20s might make the top 6.
The way that the results are going, it's making for interesting viewing, isn't it? But I don't think anyone in that from, I guess, 4th on is safe. I really don't.
And they got Canberra, I think, next. That's the next challenge, so we'll see. Let's move on and head across the ditch, because it was a fight back from Wellington Phoenix, down 1-0 to take all 3 points at Parua Park. Quite a clash, quite a fight back, and breaking that Wanderers 3-game winning streak.
Yeah, it was a fantastic start for the Wanderers. Bronte True, you know, with some great defensive work there, and an early-ish goal to put the Wanderers ahead. And the Wanderers looked in control for most of the match, and then Wellington decided to turn things on, didn't they, Teo?
I think Wellington was steadily creating. This is the equaliser from Mebe Tanaka, and there was only going to be one winner after this goal, but when Wanderers had something to hold on to, they were riding their luck. Sham Khamis was having a pretty good game.
Yeah.
But Wellington, we've talked about their need for a goal scorer. Ferguson, who's their main striker, their main hope, delivers here with the match winner. But Tanaka's equaliser was the key, just to give them that belief that they could go on with the job. And speaking of goal celebrations, I think that was for a cousin overseas of Olivia Ferguson's, who'd done exactly the same celebration in a junior game overnight in England. So
good celebrations this round.
Yeah, Ferguson doing the same celebration as a tribute there.
But her goal there as well was a striker's goal, wasn't it? To nip in between those defenders. I think she's been on song this season for the Phoenix. I just think she needs a few more players around her to step up a bit.
So do you think when we see goals like that and the determination that a player uses to get in behind that, it's enough for Wellington to
I think so. I think
top six?
That'll give them a lot of confidence now moving forward. So, it's on them. They've got a few more games at home, which is good for them, but I think this win could definitely spur them.
I'm a little bit sceptical as to exactly how sort of prolific and proficient they'll be creating against other teams. I think in every measure this was an off day for Wanderers, and Wellington weren't good enough to beat them until quite late. You see Sham Khamis making
But the Wanderers are one of the informed teams.
They are, but
Teo,
Wellington away and Wellington in general is the Wanderers' bogey team. They've only beaten them once and they've never taken a point off them away in New Zealand. So I think that Wellington got the job done, but I'm not totally excited.
Yep, fair enough, fair call.
They've got Sydney FC away this weekend.
What are you saying, Teo?
Well, it's a fixture they've won in the past.
Guaranteed 3 points? Is that
Wellington have won this game when they were bottom and Sydney were top away in Sydney. It'll be interesting to see now that they're a little bit closer together.
It's going to be a great clash. There's a few really interesting clashes this weekend.
Well, let's see how their captains responded. We'll hear from Annalie Longo and Amy Harrison.
Yeah, I think it's keeping that momentum going. We know we want to make finals and we know that every game counts. So it's another do or die game, so we'll go away with confidence. I think in patches we played well today and obviously nice to get the result.
Yeah, I think, we just got the belief back within ourselves. We're playing with freedom, playing with confidence, and, I think Jeff has done a great job in getting us all together and trying to get the best out of us individually and as a team. And, everyone's bought into that, bought into working towards something special in the future. And we know it's going to take a bit of time and there's going to be hurdles along the way, but I think we got the pedigree to do so. And the past 3 games have definitely shown that. I think today also showed that. I think this is, a hard one to take, but, the game itself, I definitely think there's good things to take away from it and good things moving ahead. We just got to believe in that and trust the process.
Amy Harrison trusting the process and taking the good things from that game and moving forward. It was interesting to hear her talk about the buy-in and all the girls believing in the purpose. Is that what they need to push on?
Well, it's turned their season around in a sense. They're in really good form. They're scoring goals. There's energy out there, which, I think it's true what she's saying.
And the NPL is back. Wanderers have a team in that competition. So all their players that didn't go to New Zealand played in the NPL on Sunday. They didn't get a great result, but at least you're going to have players that are match fit and are playing competitive games against adults, for the remainder of the season. They're in the same boat as everyone else in that they probably need to have another 3-game winning streak to challenge the finals. It can't be 1 week on, 1 week off.
I probably wishing the season was just that little bit longer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, it is now time to check in with Narlene Masto and see what's cooking on socials, thanks to Ninja.
I'm Narlene Masto with what's cooking on socials and in the world of women's football. Brought to you as always by the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven, which can turn any space into an outdoor kitchen. The Women's FA Cup semi-finals are locked in. Manchester City will face rivals Manchester United after a 2-0 win over Aston Villa, where Matilda star Mary Fowler picked up an assist for the opening goal. Unfortunately though, we won't get to see Steph Catley, Kyra Cooney-Cross or Caitlin Ford progress as Arsenal suffered an upset defeat against Liverpool in the quarter-final. Now onto the Ninja A-League, where we saw widespread celebrations for International Women's Day over the weekend. At Cooper Stadium, each Adelaide United player walked out with an inspiring woman who's played an important role in their lives. It was particularly special for American Reds forward Erin Healy, who spoke after the match about just how special it was to walk out with her mum, who's flown all the way from San Diego.
Oh, it was amazing. I haven't got to play in front of all of them since I can't remember, but walking out with her has was, I don't know, a great experience for us.
Finally, Football Australia has appointed 2 national team head coaches. Former Perth Glory boss Alex Epakis will take over the reins at the Young Matildas, while Subway Joey's assistant coach Michael Cooper will now be in charge of the Junior Matildas side. A team of coaches initiative has also been introduced, where former and current A-Leagues managers will enter the national team setup. Now, this is set to be an absolute game changer in the football space, helping coaches on their development pathway. Now, my question back to Teo and Teresa on the Dub Zone panel is, what are your thoughts on these latest appointments and changes?
Well, thank you, Narlene. And yes, some big questions to answer there. What do we make of these appointments? And especially this initiative, the team of coaches.
Yeah, I love that. I love that we're bringing females into the game at the elite level. I think that's a fantastic thing. And obviously it's good to see our youth teams now have a coach. I have seen mixed chatter about it online though.
Well, was it a half measure? Should they, instead of the team of coaches, should they have just looked at the 4 women that are in sort of this development crew and actually just committed and given them the job?
I would have loved to have seen that, Teo, but for whatever reasons, we don't know. Perhaps this is that step before that well, happens.
I'll come to you on this as well. Were you disappointed not to see, given that 2 women held the job previously, Ray Dower and also Leah Blaney, were you disappointed that their successors weren't women?
Well, I think it's the age-old question, isn't it, Teo? It's the best person for the job is what we always say, but women just don't seem to get the opportunity to put themselves in the positions to be the best woman for the job, and that's clearly what FA has decided here. I love the bank of coaches idea. I think it's something that I would absolutely advocate for, but I would have liked to see us make appointments for assistant coaches as well and perhaps make those more permanent too.
There's a lot of accredited coaches out there, but a lot of them don't actually hold positions in the Ninja A-League or even in the NPL, in the next level down. And so if you're not winning your NPL in your state, you're not putting your hand up to get a job in the Ninja A-League.
Yeah.
And it means you've got to go through as an assistant, or you've got to go through networking, and have we removed enough obstacles for women coaches to be able to get to the top of the profession in a fair and best person for the job sort of manner?
In short, no, we haven't, and that's why we're not seeing more women coaches in the game at elite levels, because there's so many obstacles, not enough resources. We're talking about job security. We could talk about this all day, but that's, I think, no, we haven't.
Last one. 2 Australians in the role, one who's worked predominantly in South Australia, in Mike Cooper, Alex Epakis 4 years in Western Australia. It's a bit different, isn't it?
It is very different.
If Joe Montemurro does come in as the Matildas coach, that'll be a Victorian, a South Australian, and yes, I know Alex Epakis is from Sydney, but someone whose A-League experience is in the ACT and WA. That's breaking the New South Wales Queensland hegemony a little bit, isn't it, T?
It is. We're got a mix of coaches from different places, but it comes down to the best person for the job, no matter where you do come from.
And at the end of the day, the positions are now filled, and we wish both the coaches the best of luck. And I think what's most important is the development of the young players, not just coming through this league, but through the national team pathway as well. All right, let's move on to Newcastle Jets, because it was another one to forget for Sydney FC, with the Jets sinking Sydney with a goal to Sheridan Gallagher, who unfortunately will be sidelined next week and not available for the Jets. But it's the season sweep over the defending champions for Newcastle.
It is, yeah, and we haven't seen that happen for a while against Newcastle. It's been a pretty Sydney FC dominant fixture, but I think that result really sums up Sydney's season.
You got the best and the frustration of Sheridan Gallagher, because only a few minutes before this she got booked. I don't know if she would have known that was her 8th card of the season, and thus she is suspended for their next game, which is vitally important, away to Brisbane, where they could really use her. But then she goes and scores the match-winning goal. So we got the best of Gallagher in that moment, the goal-scoring instincts. But I do wonder if in the back of her mind she knew that, well, hang on, I'm suspended next week. I've got to go out and make sure I score a goal for my teammates.
I think that's something Newcastle need to look at, their discipline over the season. How many players have been suspended and red-carded during the season? And then, we're talking about depth. They've struggled against many teams, and it's hurt them.
Well, one piece of good news is Devon Jackson came back from her facial fracture, which is great. I mean, that could have the potential to be a season-ending injury when it initially happened, because it was quite serious. So they've got players coming back again. They played 7 or 8 in the NPL at the weekend, and many of them, Claire Adams, Alexis Collins, India Breyer, these were players that were in the young Matildas. So they have built the depth back up at the right time of the year. but Gallagher's the centrepiece of the attack. So they would have loved her for the challenge of Brisbane away.
Yeah, great to see her on the score sheet again.
One more on Sydney. Their goalkeeper dramas. This has gone to the next.
We're on to the fourth goalkeeper.
Now, I need to credit Andy Howe, the A-League and FA statistician. This is only the second time in a women's A-League season that this has ever happened. Perth Glory put 4 goalkeepers on the field, I think in 2014-15. So it's a decade in the making. I'm thrilled for Jasmine Black because she's come through the Football New South Wales system. You can see how delighted she was to get on. And when you're the third choice keeper, you don't expect to play. And then when you have another goalkeeper get signed in front of you in season, you definitely don't expect to play.
It's been a really wild season in the goalkeeping ranks for Sydney. And, you know, you look over the years, they've always had an experienced goalkeeper. And this is new territory. These are good young goalkeepers, don't get me wrong. They're fantastic young keepers. But early in your career, you do tend to make a lot of mistakes as a goalkeeper. And that's been the story of the season for Sydney. And Ante just hasn't quite worked it out yet.
Now, you finally said to me today, T, the line can be drawn through Sydney. Their season is over. You finally admitted it.
Yeah. No, I think for me, they had to get that win against Newcastle, and unfortunately, I'm drawing that line now.
And so they are 2 points behind second last Wanderers, and now have the derby in 3 weeks' time. Is it a battle for the wooden spoon?
The derby's their grand final now. They cannot lose that match. That's going to be a really, really interesting encounter.
I did suggest Sydney could still get to 20 points. I still think that's more than possible. 2, maybe even 3 more wins for the remainder of the campaign from here. I don't feel like they're a million miles away, T. I mean, we've been debating play the kids versus play the adults. I actually think there are enough Aussies, either overseas not getting game time, overseas potentially about to leave their big clubs and debating the next move in their career, maybe homesick players, a bit like a Mackenzie Hawkesby.
Yeah.
I wonder... Does Sydney need to detonate it all and hit reset and play the kids? Or are they only maybe a goalkeeper and maybe a centre forward, a few key signings away from loading up and taking this group for one more ride next season? You
could go either way with it, but I do think, there could be a potential rebuild again for next season, and lots of options overseas. What's going to happen? There's so many questions that are running, even on my way here today.
But it's about strategy, isn't it? I think they need to make a decision on the coach.
They do.
Ante Juric is still job sharing. He's still coaching Sydney United 58 every week in the men's NPL, alternating with Sydney FC in the women's. I think they need to come down from the top.
Look, I don't think the club...
We need our women's coach to be a full-time employee whose only job, no day job, outside of football, only job is coaching Sydney FC.
Look, with respect to Ante, he's done a lot in a pretty short amount of time for Sydney FC. There's no way the club would be moving him on. If he's moving on, it's off his own accord. That's my thought, because he's done an amazing job. He's won everything with the club. So there's a lot that remains to be seen, really.
One last thing on Newcastle. Daniel Krasaniak, first clean sheet of the season. It's easy for us to sit here and look at the red cards and scratch our heads, but hey, I'm actually thrilled, and hopefully there are more clean sheets on the way, because it's nice to see in a season where so many teams haven't resolved their problems and haven't worked to find solutions. Newcastle have, that is good progress.
They have. It's good progress, and it's great to see for her.
And another team that had no defensive problems on the weekend, Adelaide United, taking on Central Coast Mariners at Coopers Stadium. Erin Healy on the score sheet again and extending that unbeaten streak for Adelaide to 11.
What a goal. I mean, a team goal there. You can't... What Emily Condon did there can't go unnoticed. That dummy that she made to leave it for Healy there, amazing stuff.
We know that this was the second game in a doubleheader, and Adelaide actually, I think credit to them, had a few initiatives to try and incentivise fans that may not have otherwise thought about staying for both games, because it can be a long day with the gap in between the two games. They tried to incentivise for as many fans to stay on as possible, and it just whets the appetite for Adelaide playing a home final at Hindmarsh, doesn't it, T? I don't think we're jinxing him to say they're not going to finish fifth. They're going to at least have a home elimination final. But right now they're thinking about the top two. They're thinking about first place.
Exactly. They're challenging. This weekend, enticing games. if City slip up, Adelaide could finish top.
What would it take for Adelaide to be the first team to beat Melbourne City, though? Because they're away at Control Cyber pitch, a pitch that they've actually got a draw away at in the past. And when they met earlier in the season, they did get a bit of a gift to go 1-0 up, but Melbourne City, with Holly McNamara back, came over the top and won 3-1.
They're a different team now to what they were then. They've got everyone back, pretty much, almost. And, I mean, the form they're in.
Well, it didn't help that they conceded in the first minute, too. That was Speckmeyer. Look at that, 25 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, but I think, they're just a much, much better team at this point in the season now. The chemistry is fantastic, and I really think if there's a team that can beat City, it's Adelaide.
They've also built throughout the season, and obviously, the score here was 3-1, round 7, Coopers Stadium. I know they were at home, but they were in that still building phase for us before this unbeaten streak started.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an 11-game unbeaten streak going up against an 18-game unbeaten streak. It's pretty extraordinary, isn't it?
City's the team that beat them last.
Yeah.
So it's just everything's just fallen into place, and it's making for a really exciting mini-final, really, today.
It has set up to be absolutely mouth-watering, hasn't it? And, of course, before that, Brisbane Roar and Melbourne City will face off in the make-up game from last weekend with the Cyclones washing everything out. That one taking place March 26th at Perry Park with kick-off at 6 o'clock. Let's concentrate on the Mariners. They lost this one. It's their fourth loss in a row now, slipping down the ladder. They're holding on to 6th by a thread.
But that's the thing. The teams that are making their move spotted the Mariners a 15-point head start, T. They've missed the opportunity to really go and lock down a top 6 spot of their own.
They really have.
How vulnerable are they? Because, we're seeing a team that's lost their leadership. Still no Bianca Gallish, no Taryn King, no Ash Irwin. It feels as though everyone's had to move up one rung. And as we're going to hear from Annabelle Martin in a moment, they played better in this game with 10 players than they did with 11. And it's almost like they need the additional adversity to go and find their best.
That's so true. Exactly what I was thinking.
Status.
The underdog.
I think we talked about this.
When they go down, it's like a switch goes off, and that's when they actually start playing because the pressure's off and they're the underdog. And to me, that's all mentality, and the confidence is obviously down. And, they've overcome or trying to overcome many challenges that this season has thrown at them. But, to me, it's all psychological for the Mariners. But their season is on the line.
How much of, we've praised Em Husband a lot on this show, but they had Shadeen Evans ready to come off on a yellow card, sub her out of the game.
Yeah.
But how much of this is the player and how much of it is coaching when you have a player on a yellow make a tackle like that and get sent off and you've got to finish the game with 10 men?
Yeah, look, that's the type of player Shay is. Not that she means it, but she tends to, get fired up and throw herself around a bit. So I think, look, you said they were ready to make that sub.
The second one, there's no questions over, right?
No.
Sliding in, studs up from behind or the side. But the first one was a bit soft.
Yeah, but throughout the game, she's sort of throwing elbows and arms around,
if you're on a card, you're on a card. And I think when we speak about missing the on-field leaders, there's an element of that too. If the voice from the sideline isn't carrying or isn't being listened to, you as a captain would know. How many times did you have to tell someone to pull their head in on a yellow card during your career?
Definitely. Yeah. In particular, young players, sometimes more senior players if they'd listen. But
what about yourself?
Yeah, look, I skated on yellow cards many times. I didn't ever get a red card. So you get good at it. But when you're young, and Shay is a young player, and she is an aggressive type of player in a good way, and she, I guess, didn't make the right decision out there, which happens. But she'll learn from this.
Final score 1-0 to Adelaide, but let's now hear from the Central Coast, Annabelle Martin, following that loss.
We just kind of spoke about that we probably look better with 10 men than 11, and again, not good enough. I think it just shows that we do have that fight and we do have that grit to go, but we can't wait until we go down to 10 men or go down 1-0 to start fighting for those points. Like you said, it's a positive that we did put that fight up and probably could have got snagged one at the end, but in all honesty, probably didn't deserve it.
Annabelle Martin there, wrapping up the Central Coast loss to Adelaide United. We are going to jump to Melbourne Victory and Canberra United. This one was played at the home of Matildas, and it was Maya Markowski that could have got Canberra off to a great start.
Former Victory player. She was burning for revenge.
She would have been burning there for revenge. Good strike there, but not quite enough on it for Markowski.
Yet another clean sheet for Courtney Newbon. Wasn't made to work overtime in this game. The fact that the first highlight we're showing is from the 56th minute. This game really took a long time to get going.
It did. It was. But look, Holly Furphy steps up. What an instinctive player she is.
Catalyst off the bench here. I mean, so the subs go through. Heyman comes off the bench for Canberra. Furphy comes off the bench for Victory at the same time. Holly Furphy's weakness before going away to college was her shooting.
Wow.
It's amazing
You
to
wouldn't think.
She has come back. She has developed it so much overseas to score a goal like that. We saw the goal against Western United, the goal on debut against Sydney FC. I mean, her movement and her ability to get into goal-scoring positions was already what had made her stand out as a junior.
Yeah. She's definitely persistent and you know, doesn't give up. Her balance is extraordinary. But, her strike rate's fantastic.
Oh, I love the tenacity of her to continue to fight for that and then still have a crack at goal and manage to sneak it in, which ultimately got her side the 3 points. But where is her ceiling, Taya? Because she's still so young.
I think this is a player who suffered an ACL away at college. So she also lost a year. She got a young Matildas cap but didn't make the Under-20 World Cup the year that the young Matildas went away to Costa Rica. That age group, we need strikers. We need forwards.
Yeah.
There's going to be a gap of players that age unless someone emerges. And I think this is the someone that is emerging.
Absolutely. And at the moment, she can't miss, on goal. So, absolutely what we need and hope to see her step up on that elite level.
It's astute from Victory. They had this deal lined up in pre-season and always knew that when Holly finished at college, she'd be coming back to Victory specifically. But aren't there a few teams around the league that are thinking, rich get richer? Victory have already got the golden boot leader, and now they're adding in a striker that could be the tipping point to help them beat Melbourne City or Adelaide in a knockout final.
Yeah, not to mention the 13 different goal scorers that they do have. So, they've definitely got plenty of attacking options there. But like you said, there's a few teams out there that might be on the hunt for Furphy.
Can I say the M word? I mean, if we said it super early about Lainey Fryer, can I say the M word here about Holly Furphy?
Why not?
I mean, if we still have the interim coach in Tom Samani for the career series.
Yeah.
Can we do?
I think come next season.
We can't forget Remy Siemsen has started scoring goals again over in Sweden. Their season's back on, and she missed out on the last She Believes Cup. So I think she should be back. But in terms of what's coming out of the Ninja A-League, I think Holly Furphy's got to be in the mix, in the conversation.
Absolutely.
What does that mean then for Emily Gilnick? Because she's the one that sealed the deal for Melbourne Victory in this one to make it 2-0 in the 85th minute with a header here. But it also sees her go to the top or extend that lead at the top of the Golden Boot race.
Yeah, so shouldn't we see Gilnick being recalled?
Dare I say,
for her form?
If we are still in this holding pattern of interim coaches, let's keep picking interim squads. Let's keep experimenting. Let's keep looking for what's next. We know what we're getting from Em Gilnick. I know personally for her, she wants to be in, but my approach to this might be, until we have the permanent coach with their new strategy and direction, let's keep taking the maybes and seeing if they are more than maybe.
I just think my philosophy is pick the best players that are in form at the time, no matter how old or young they are. That's the way.
Good theory. All right,
is your resume in?
Definitely not.
The job's still open. The job's still open. Let's take a look at the ladder, shall we? Because it is Melbourne City that is still sitting on top. Just 2 points now, the difference to Melbourne Victory. Adelaide United sneaking into third, another 2 points adrift. And then there's that big gap down to Western, who didn't pick up the points this week. Brisbane, Central Coast rounding out the top 6. It won't stay this way, will it, T?
No, this is an amazing ladder, isn't it? I mean, from fourth onwards, it's anyone's game, really.
Genuinely, I mean, which of Western United, Brisbane Roar, Central Coast and Canberra, who do you think is the first to win 2 more games in the run home?
At the moment, Roar.
Roar
for me. The others, I'm just not convinced at the moment. What about you, Taya?
Well, I think that I actually am struggling to see how any of those 4 teams win 2 more. Maybe some of them win 1 more. Maybe 1 more win is enough to get in.
Wellington, 3 more games at home. Potential to win 2 more games.
Well, let's see where the points are going to come from this weekend, because it is another big round of the Ninja A-League kicking off on Friday night at 7 p.m. Oh, you'll have to pick your side here. Central Coast Mariners taking on Perth Glory at Industry Group Stadium, and at the same time, Western United will play host to Canberra United. Then on Saturday, Western Sydney Wanderers hosting Melbourne Victory. This one being played at CommBank Stadium as part of a double header. And at Leichhardt at 5 p.m, Sydney FC at home to the Wellington Phoenix. It all wraps up on Sunday, 4 p.m, Melbourne City, Adelaide United. It doesn't get more mouth-watering than this. I know you're going to be glued to your screens from 4 p.m. there. And Brisbane Roar and the Newcastle Jets are rounding out round 19. Oh, lots and lots to talk about right there. But right now we need to check in with what's happening on Total A-Leagues.
On Total A-Leagues this week, I'm joined by A-League legend Alex Brosk to chat about who will be in and who will be out of the upcoming Socceroos squad. We'll dissect Sydney FC's best ever performance in Asia and look at some incredible goals from the weekend. Brosky, what's got you excited this week, mate?
Well, you said it in your intro there. Some of the absolute screamers that we saw across the weekend. I mean, you know, we get one every now and then, but to have 4 of the quality that we did this week, that's got me excited.
We're going to rank them too, Brosky. Looking forward to that. Total A-Leagues, check it out every Wednesday on the A-Leagues YouTube channel and the website.
Well, thank you, Vince and Broski, but I want to bring you back to the Ninja A-League because some mouth-watering clashes we saw right before that, and that top of the table, Adelaide, Melbourne. We will be bolted to our seats for this one.
Yeah, I'd be crazy not to say that that's the match I'm really looking forward to this weekend.
It's foolhardy for me generally to tip an upset against Melbourne Victory, but I think the Wanderers could be, especially at Combank, where they smashed Western United earlier in the season. I think that's a big flag for a potential upset there. Wanderers against Victory.
Well, lots of action, and of course, you can catch it all on Paramount Plus and 10 Play. Teresa, Teo, thanks again for this week's episode of the Dub Zone, and thank you for watching. We'll be back same time, same place next week.